Hello, this is Karen here. I'm from Costa Rica. I'm glad to share this live session with you one more time. I'm a yoga teacher, mindfulness and meditation trainer. So it's my pleasure with me to share about this month topic, which is how to be empathetic and improve relationships. So today I would like to focus about giving without any expectations. So I invite you to share this live session. And in the meantime, I will share as well with my personal website. So it's done. Good. So I want you to think, hi everyone, Marta, Lucila, welcome to the session. I want you to think for a moment about if you ever wonder why it's so difficult to let go of expectations. That's a very good question, actually. Sometimes we say to ourselves, if we do this, we behave in a good way, we will get something. If we do this, we get that. That's the normal state of the mind. And I want you also to think about the idea that something else is holding that idea of selfishness, which is different than your true self. The idea of wanting something in return for your actions comes from the state of the mind that doesn't feel connected, doesn't feel whole. So it's always lacking of something. It's never complete. And that mind state separates one from another's. So I would like to call this the egoic mind. This is also concept that I hear about very often, and I would like today to elaborate more about that egoic mind. One of the things that we should do in order to prevent ourselves from being egoic is to remain ourselves as the self. The ego comes from a place of lack, as I said before. So this creates a feeling of selfishness. The ego lives always in a sense that is not enough. It's me, me, and me, right? So what I have experienced is that when you let go of the ego, you feel complete. There is no need to go for me, me, me again. So this way, it's easier to give without expecting. Of course, there is always two sides of it. I will elaborate more in a little bit. For now, I would like to keep discussing about letting go of the ego. So the ego doesn't want to share because the ego wants to keep all that happiness for ourselves. So to share happiness with others, we need to be happy and feel happy and maintain ourselves in that statement, right? So as you develop yourself in a vulnerable way, in a compassionate way, in an empathetic way, so you don't fight anymore with the ego that wants everything for myself. In the other hand, you will give in order to receive something. You receive the satisfaction of giving, and you also receive the reward of giving without any expectations, because you know that many people will be affected by your actions. You're not depending on your self-satisfaction, but you also share that satisfaction with others. So to step out of that egoic mind, you have to give up who you are in your mind. One thing is what we think we are, and another thing very different is who we truly are. So we must change that state from inside out, the awareness of the self, the awareness of the true self, of who you really are. So when you are really aware, as Moji says, I would like to quote Moji here. He says, only grace and God can change a person but you gotta be humble. And humble is a very important topic on this conversation about how to improve relationships, because humility comes from a place of egoless. When you empty yourself completely, and there is no need to keep a projections in the mind of who you are. I am this, I am that, because all of that will be a distraction indeed to give unconditionally. So when we move that distractions, when we remove the ego, and we become our true selves, so it's better to give without any expectations. Another part of leaving the egoic mind is to be present. Honestly, from all the practices that I've been doing in the past 10 years or so, is the fact that I need to connect with the present moment as much as I can. When we talk about another's happiness, keep in mind that we are dealing with the ego and this terrible human emotion, which is jealousy. The deal is not about only being selfish. It's about acting accordingly to what we think. So when I think about remaining aware to the present moment, it's not about knowing that as a concept. It's also about having the discernment to choose wisely and to be coherent between our intention, our thoughts, and our bodily actions. So it needs to be this interaction between what we think and what we do. So wanting something is not enough. We need to do it, and this is when the magic happens. So to be present, our job is to align ourselves with that universal consciousness, which I like to call it that way. You can call it any way you want. So to experience that in the essence of your being, that makes you complete. When you are complete, you're no longer jealous, you're no longer egoic, you're no longer selfish. And this state needs to go beyond your thoughts, beyond your knowledge, beyond your rational mind. It needs a connection that comes from within, from a space which is divine, which is less material than our thoughts and our minds. So I will share with you a few things that you can do to give without expectations. First of all, you need to set up a good intention. And here I will refer as an intention because it's the normal word that we use. But I also like to call it inspiration, which is a word that I recently found out, and I find it amazingly rich in itself, because inspiration comes from the connection with the divine. It comes with that connection within yourself that is egoless. So intention is not enough. When you connect with the divine, this becomes an inspiration for you. And wanting something is different than the manifestation of that we want. When we align ourselves with that intention, we find in ourselves the inspiration to do it, then we devote it to service, not only for the self, but to others. So imagine a life of service only to yourself. You know, every time you give, there is a power that lies within that acting of giving. If you give only to yourself, what are you going to do with all that power? It is going to be too much that you can't handle it. So when you direct that power and you give to others, that will be the manifestation of that intention that you attempt. So, second of all, wisdom. This wisdom is different, totally different than knowledge. As I said before, you can know something, but until you experience that, it doesn't become a wisdom. So the wisdom arises from the deep of your being, and is the knowing that what you're doing, what you're experiencing is real. So this is the difference between wisdom and knowledge. Knowledge is just an information that we have in hand, but the wisdom comes from within. And then a very important step is the discipline. You must have a discipline, a method, a practice that you do on a daily basis to be connected with the present moment and to be aligned with that divine energy. So in my case, I use meditation, which helps me to cultivate the feelings of loving kindness, which are for me the main pillars for giving without expectations. When you become more compassionate, empathetic, and loving to others, that then you not even have to think about giving. You never expect anything back, because your heart is so open up that you know as much as you give, as much as you will have. It's never-ending process. So where the magic happens, being a conscious human being, in my opinion, it's my life purpose. Be the light in the world. Be that person that wants to share the experience, wants to share the knowledge, become that knowledge in wisdom, and choose wisely what to do every single day of my life. When I give, there is this sense inside of me that I feel complete, I feel useful, I feel happy of what I'm doing, and there is nothing else that I need at the moment. When you focus in the present moment, there is nothing else missing. You don't think about the past, you don't think about the future, you don't think about what's missing, you think about what you are doing. So this is where the magic happens. This is why giving without expectations has a tremendous power in yourself, in your self-development. So experiences, in my opinion, are the most rewarded tool that you can do to develop your happiness, your overall sense of being. And with these two components, you might divide the act of giving in two parts. First, you do it for yourself, to make yourself happy, content, and at peace. And second of all, you do it for others. Even though sometimes it's hard to measure the results of what we are giving, as you continue doing the work, you notice how the grace from within unfolds. So I invite you today to give without any expectation, to keep cultivating that level of empathy, of compassion, of love, even sympathy. And this cultivating these feelings allows you to improve all the relationships, starting the relationship with yourself. So I want you to think about the fact that you will never go empty. Your heart will be always full. Every time you give, more is creating from within. So don't be afraid of giving. Separate yourself from the egoic mind. Try to be present as much as you can and keep discovering who you truly are. This is not a one day to another transformation. The transformation takes time and it takes patience, but sooner or later you will feel what I'm telling you about. Giving without expectations is not giving without expecting anything at all. Of course, you're expecting to feel happy, to feel peaceful, to feel useful, and that's a good thing. But giving also gives you the power to continue this as your life purpose. So that's all for now. Thank you very much for connecting with today's session. Please leave any comments or questions that you might have, and we will be more than happy to get to you as soon as possible. See you soon.